The information provided in this show is intended for educational and entertainment purposes only. Viewers should use their own discretion and consult with a healthcare professional for personalized guidance and recommendations. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Health Revolution Show. We are excited that you are here today. I'm your host, Adriana Morrison, and our show is all about elevating that conversation, the health and wellness, and empowering transformation. We are excited to have those type of conversations that are really moving the needle forward and allowing us to lock arms together in terms of community and moving forward in growing both from the inside on out. And so wherever you're tuning in, we are on E360 TV. We are live at the moment. And so however you're streaming in, if it's through YouTube, if it's through Facebook, please make sure that you hit the subscribe button. We certainly would love to see any comments that you might have. So feel free to jump in to the comments and share feedback or any type of insights that you are getting from our episode. And our episode today, I'm excited about today's episode because it touches on subjects that are really near and dear to societal's hearts. It's something that strikes more people than we realize. We are going to be talking about mental health and also viewer discretion advised. We are also going to be touching on the topic of suicide and the levels of support that surround that topic. So stand by for some of those numbers, support numbers, as we're going through the show. And so I'm excited going forward to bring up my guest for today. She is a remarkable woman. If you don't know her, you're going to want to know her. She is a global mental health advocate. She is someone who wrote a bestseller. We're going to talk about her book. And then also she is a champion for children's well-being. She is someone who is having the right conversations, is a international speaker because she's been globetrotting a whole lot, but with very, very good purpose. She is someone who I've had the opportunity to meet not so very long ago. And she is someone who I am learning from in every conversation that we have. So without further ado, my viewers, I want to introduce you to Karen Comba. Karen, welcome to the Health Revolution. How are you?
Oh, good morning. Good morning. Thank you for having me, Adriana. And thank you for also being my fantastic friend. And I'm so honored to meet you. I want to say congratulations on your new show, Health Revolution. What an inspiring, beautiful show you've got going. I hope it lasts decades because women need it. I also want to thank you for empowering women for health over 40. I mean, my goodness, I definitely need that. I mean, I so stay healthy, and I think women will enjoy you for just decades. And being a fitness coach and everything you do to this world, the world's a better place because you're in it. And thank you for having me.
Vice versa. I appreciate all your kind thoughts, and let's just get right into it. Can you share with us your journey, who you are today, and what you stand for? Let's just dive right into there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I know in my heart that I was chosen to go through the life that I lived because I was supposed to help children. I do honestly believe I was chosen. I grew up with a schizophrenia mother. She started having issues when I was 4. So this is going, I always tell everybody it was 4 to 64. I'm 65 now. So what I go out and help children understand is you got to say it out loud. We need to start educating our children when there's mental illness at home, whether it's with them or someone in the family. They have to have solutions. You know, we all talk about mental illness. Everybody says, oh, we're addressing mental health. We're doing this, but there's no solutions coming to these children. And if we don't start with the children, we won't have to worry about global warming because there won't be anybody left. So I always joke, you know, let's get down to it. We might have the person that's going to save that planet right in the midst of ourselves. But because they're struggling with someone home with mental illness that's got some kind of disease, because it is a disease, they don't know how to go for help and they're quiet. It's always a quiet child. That's another reason I'm talking about, because I was that child. We don't ever say anything. We don't raise our hand. We don't tell anybody. We're scared or fearful. We don't thrive. You don't know who you are. And you go through all this incredible inner pain because you just don't have anybody out there. So that's been my thing, is speaking all over, putting programs together, and doing a lot of things that way.
I want to dive into the book in a little bit. So talk to me about your journey as you were evolving when you growing into adulthood and then beyond. What was it like for you to really use your voice? Or at what point in time did you feel like, you know what, it's now time to lean forward and it's now time to carve my own path, despite the type of childhood that I had? How did all that transpire for you?
Well, growing up, you don't really know what you're growing up with. So nothing hit me when I was a child. In high school, you're constantly not feeling love, because that parent's not showing love and everything. So you go through a lot of self-destruction. So I was going through where you can get into the alcohol and the sex and all that, which can be dive down deeper. Someone can read my story. But what happened is, as I got older, after my mother committed suicide when I was 29 years old, I realized that we couldn't have been the only wonderful, beautiful family out there that this happened to. And so that was over 36 years ago. And I just decided at that point, and I was 29, that I had to do something. And if someone didn't start reaching out to these children, who was going to? So unfortunately for this world, it took me a long time. It took me 12 years to write the book. I'd have to shelf it. Some out there with emotions will understand that. As I wrote the book, I relived my life. So at the point of being in my 60s, late 50s, when I started this journey, I had to relive my life. And as I did that, I actually realized that I had healed already. I just needed to get it down on paper. And if I didn't do a platform, nobody would know that I knew what I was talking about. So basically, at the age of 29, I decided it. And in the 60s, I made it happen.
So back then, and you brought up a good point, that back then was a completely different time where it's not something that was talked about the way that we're having more conversations today. And I know that you have siblings as well. So what was it like? What was it like for you to work through and navigate during a time where it was not possible to talk about it, not the way that we do today?
Well, you don't navigate, you exist. And so you become, my stomach was always upset, and you're living in fear and feeling unloved, and you don't navigate, you just exist. So even though we're starting to talk more and more about it, I have to share with you, as you can see in the world, nothing's getting much done. The children are suffering more because now we've added social media to it. So there's all this confusion for children, and we need to simplify it. I still think we have a long ways to go. We're with all the school shootings and all the mental, the suicides that young people are having and everything, we can see that we're definitely we haven't accomplished this yet. So that's where I come in, and that's what I'm just formed another group. We're working on, we're going to do the solutions for the youth and for parents and for educators, because you can't just do the child. You have to give the parents someplace to go so that they can learn about it. And then you've also got to help the educators that are absolutely dear to my heart. Since my mother was a teacher, teachers are my love, and what they're going through and the hard work they do and what they do for these children. We need to get them some help.
That's true. That's true. And I first of all, I commend you, because it's quite the journey that you've been on. Have you talked to other women who are older, that have you discovered along the way that there are those who take comfort in hearing your story, who are in the same age bracket, who felt like, there was no way that we could talk about this, or I went through this too, or this resonates with me, or you're singing my song. What was it like to have conversations and with women who felt like, I'm glad I'm not the only one?
Well, I had no idea that after the book came out, I've gotten over probably 15,000 emails now, if not more, and begging me not to stop. Women sharing, grandmothers sharing, all talking about you need to say it out loud, because no one's still helping that child that's not sick, but struggling because there's mental illness in the home. And the stories they've shared. I always said, if I could save one child, I've done my job. And that was my goal when I first wrote. I thought, if I can just get one kid. Well, now I know I'm way past that. I even have grandparents now that are reaching out to me that are raising their grandchildren because of the mental illness that is stricken one of their children. So now they've got the grandchildren living with them. And they said, by reading your book and listening to you speak, I understand that maybe the child's better if they stay with me, even though I'm getting older, and it's harder for grandparents to stay young with the young grandkids. But I've had teachers just email me, call me up crying, saying, please don't stop. You've got to, whatever you do, it will help, even if it's a small change. Of course, you know me pretty well. I never do things tiny. So our mission is huge. And that's what that's what I'm going to do until I can't do it anymore.
So the stigma that we've had that we've been battling over the decades, I think a lot of it, and then I definitely would love input on this. I think the stigma of decades past were that you can't show any vulnerabilities. You've got to put the polished image of having it together, of being as much of a perfect family that you can present to anyone looking at, like, say, the family. And so would you say, talk to me about how much work goes into challenging that stigma, and especially as we're getting older, maybe those who just grew up conditioned to put on the perfect face and not say anything. What does it take to really break down those barriers and embrace the support that's out there?
Well, that's what we're going to have to start giving these children. What I'm working on now is we're working on programs to help youth. Someone asked me, what would have helped me? If I could have been 12 years old or even 10, because children are resilient, if someone would have told me what my mother had, if someone would have explained to me what she was going through, instead of me feeling like she hated me and she didn't love me, and what did I do wrong in this world to deserve nothing from my mother? If someone would have taken that opportunity to educate me, I would have loved my mother instead of waited my whole life until we didn't start loving each other until she almost passed away. So we've got what your question is asking is, how do you go, navigate? How does a child do that? The child still isn't saying anything. They're going, and then if they feel like they do the social media, then they feel like they're going to get bullied and everything. So we're going to have to go through what we're doing now is, you're going to love this. Because I am older, I had to stay younger. Because the young kids right now, if I try to fix them the way I wanted to be fixed, won't work. I didn't have social media. So we're coming after the programs that we're designing are coming after the youth with the young in heart, and we're coming after them social media wise. We're going to get them where they live. Every child has a phone. And that's as far as I can go now with our program. But if they stay tuned with me, they'll eventually see where we're headed with this. But we have to address this differently. As we were talking the other day, children have so much access and there's so much coming at them that we have to help them in their direction, not my direction. But it still comes to simplify it, if you will, children need it just explained to them.
So,
They just want to hear the truth. They just want to know what's making everything tick.
so with your family, what helped your family rally together to then address? Because I think one big element in say with a family that's struggling with mental illness, and it's not the child, but if it's a parent, for example, there has to be some sort of rallying around. So what has been helpful based on your experience and what you've seen for family members to really close ranks and address this in a way that shows support for the family member, but then also that everyone is able to they've got tools in place to help the family in general?
Well, the beauty of that is the family knows when there's an illness in the family. I'm talking relatives, friends. When someone's struggling. And I think my biggest message is then get out there and do something. If you're a family member and that's happening in the home, and that other spouse or that other guardian, they have a lot on their plate because insurance doesn't cover mental illness. They're trying to probably do 2-3 jobs trying to support the family while they have the illness in the home. The child needs to just even go out for ice cream. Try to reach in and give that support to that other guardian or that other parent, and say, even as a friend, I've even had friends email me and go, you know what, I'm going to be a better friend. Take that child out to a normal movie. Take them out for supper. You can't fix the mental illness in their home. That's between the doctors and that person. They need to get help. But while they're doing that, the child's still caught up in the home. They can't escape. There's no escape for this child or anybody in that home. So relatives have to team up. I think what it comes down to is the love has to come back. You have to go, do you want me to take Johnny or Susie to a movie, or you want them to come spend the weekend? Can it take some pressure off that child? Because a child wants normalcy. And their normal isn't your normal and never will be, but you can give them a break.
I think that's huge because and sometimes it would seem that I could see how some families could struggle with that, just not knowing what to say, not knowing, the type of dialogue to have, how to say it without coming across as an attack or putting down, or, I think that example. So for example, what helped your family to start the conversation so that the ball could get rolling? What do you recall of having? What helped all the family members get rolling with starting that conversation?
Well, I don't want you to have to get a Kleenex, but my family didn't. My dad was a workaholic. He was our rock. And he had to make millions of dollars just to support. Like, for instance, my mother had 2 electric shock treatments a day till she had 50. Back there, she was in and out of institutions. She had 9 nervous breakdowns before she passed away, but she was in and out of institutions for 6 to 9 months at a time. That's very expensive. So unfortunately for us, I looked forward when my aunt or uncle would come get me, and I would be able to go to their house for a few days and just play and just be normal for a little bit. And I remember my stomach hurting when it was time to go home. Unfortunately, the family knew. My father was incredible. His integrity and I was very lucky to have a father like him, but we didn't talk about it. And that's the problem that was in our home. As you will see, as you read through my story, nobody talked about it. I didn't even know what my mother had. So I lived my whole life with pain and mixed up feelings and no self-esteem and no self-worth because we did not get it in our home. What you see now with me is me changing the way people think about it and letting you know that there's still homes out there that they're not talking about it. They're still not talking about it. When I talked to a group of high school kids in San Diego a while back, one little guy raised his hand and he goes, "We have mental illness in our home." And I said, how you dealing with that? He goes, well, I like the idea that maybe my uncle would take me for ice cream, or maybe we can go to a movie. He wasn't asking. The child doesn't want you to take him out of the home. They don't want a new home. They don't want a new mom and dad. They want a break. Right. And they want you to explain to them what's going on. So to answer your question, our family made it. We all made it through. Our mother did commit suicide. So I don't know if you say we made it or not. Probably not.
And we're going to touch on that a little bit more because there's more to unpack with this. We're going to take a quick commercial break and we will be right back here on the Health Revolution.
Coming this spring, by popular demand, the second season show on the Tour of Love.
And the E360 TV platform is saying, we want the Tour of Love.
With winner of the first Global Impactor Award, Tamara Hunter, along with Emmy-winning co-host Skip Thomas.
We are going on tour, on the road. It's time. Love unites, and there is healing through connections. This is a worldwide movement, the Tour of Love.
Welcome back to the Health Revolution. We are having a very important and conversation with my guest, Karen Comba, who is a global mental health advocate and is a champion for women, for children, for women, and then also in addition for children's well-being. And if we can put up, I want to put a picture up on the screen. Let's see if we can get there up there. Your book, I do have it here, but I'd like for the viewers to see this as well. This is the title. This is the cover page of your book, Snipers We Couldn't See, a memoir of growing up with my mother's schizophrenia. And as I'm highlighting this, you know, I think this is, first of all, the first time I came across your book, I was, you know, I held on to it for a while, and then I'm still reading through it right now. And if I can just say that I'm 100% blown away by just the resilience that you demonstrate through your words. And I want to read an excerpt from here just for our viewers. This is, and you definitely want to get your hands on this book. And so on here, you have a picture, you had a section where you're talking about playing the piano and how you were taking piano lessons and you were really struggling to, that was not your jam at the time, that you did not, the piano teacher was somebody who you were not very fond of. And as you were going through, you talked about your mom making you practice the piano at home. And just to get right down to it, the one caption I have here, it says, I can't imagine mom's chaos, losing her mind while ordinary life happened all around her. If I had been older this one time, I would have stood up for my mom, even though my feelings towards her were confused, but I didn't. And if we can talk to me about some of when, as you were writing the book, what were some of your more powerful reflections, things that you things that in hindsight that were allowing you to process even today, even, these days, and how you were able to just use this and continue to heal?
Oh, thank you for when everybody reads a part of my book, my eyes get all full of water because I can go there instantly. Well, thank you for the question. Thank you again for having me. I think that what happened was, as I was getting into my teenage years, and you're starting to grow up, just like you don't want your friend bullied in school, when you saw your best friend getting picked on, it was more deeper than that because it was my mother. But for instance, we would be in a grocery store and she'd be pushing down, and it was a small farm town. So she was pushing her groceries down the aisle. And I'd watch people come around the corner and they'd see her and they'd turn around and go the other way. And I thought to myself, I was so mixed up, like I understood, but I thought, shame on you. And then I saw people sit away from her in church. And I thought, she's not catching. You can't catch it, but I'm not really sure what she's got. But, you don't have to be scared of her. And I felt myself, deep down, because you're a good person. You want to love your mother, because she kind of took everything out on me. So I was trying to get over the hate that I was feeling. But deep down, you're still a child that's wanting to love that parent. So that protecting of what I'm trying to share with you with that is the child love for the parent never goes away. No matter, you can beat a kid to death. And I do have it even in my book. You can hurt a cat. You'll see a mother cat. She'll whack at one of the kittens and they'll still keep coming back for more. Same thing with the child.
One thing I do want to say about the book that I found myself, the way that you wrote the book was so, eloquent in your attention to detail of taking the reader back to where, to that moment. And I found myself getting upset because in the book, and this, I'll share this with our viewers, in the book, you share details of what you recall. And it was emotionally painful, to say the least. What you went through was just incredibly just appalling in you being a child and having to endure just that this was your struggle. And I found myself just, I was in shock reading some of that, but it was helpful to understand what your thought process was. So as much as I was surprised, I felt compassion for that moment that you were sharing in the book. And I just got to tell you that's the way that you write, very incredible.
Well, thank you for that. And the one thing that I need the audience to know is 1 out of every 6 people on this earth have some form of mental issues. So that it hasn't went away. So you're reading what is still happening today. Mental illness has not went away, there's no cure yet. So unfortunately, I think they're gaining a little bit of ground on schizophrenia, but there's so many different levels of it.
That's true.
But I wanted to touch base with you and thank you for one thing. This fits in incredibly with your show. Mental illness, no matter who has it in the home, because it's in the home, you can't, everybody, wherever you are and you have it, you're in a home, whether you're the one with it, the child with it, or the parent, or you have a sibling or whatever with it. Your health and fitness that you teach so eloquently and you coach people so well, eating right and working out. And that's even a big part of one of the things that we're working with children right now is you need to be physically active, eating right, regardless if you're the one with it or the one dealing with it. You have to really take care of yourself, because you have to realize that you can be totally healthy, but there's also the brain. You have to have mental health. And that's how I'm trying to tie all this together. And that's why I'm so glad you had me, is because it's about the body, it's about the spirit, it's about the soul, it's about the mind, and it's about working out, and everything, all of it ties together.
And I think that doing the due diligence, in you're 100% correct. It's all encompassing. So it's not just one avenue of trying to take care of the self. You're right that it's not just the physiological aspect, but it's the internal.
Yes.
And that level of comprehension, the just how someone is processing that cognitive, that level of cognition that is in the mix. So as we're going, so in talking about the book, I love, and I'm still reading it through, and just very captivated by it. Take us through the moments, because in a lot of ways you were a trailblazer. So you didn't go along with, say, the rest of the family, where you were the first to say something. You were the first to speak up and get proactive, if you will, with taking care of you and processing it. Talk to us about what helped you be the trailblazer for breaking this pattern that was happening in the family.
Well, I will say I have siblings, and I love them very, very much. So I'll address that and just say this real quick. Their take and their love and the way they lived it is theirs. I let that be theirs, because how you feel the parent was to you is your own world. But to say this, I was always the child. My mother, when they come in and out of being sick. So mom would be, if you would, crazy for a while, and then she'd come back to reality. And one time when she was back to reality, she said, "You're going to be the child that leaves." And actually, before she had a nervous breakdown, her and me talked when she was in one of her good moments. And she said, you need to write about it. We need to get this out there. And she would read medical books. She was like a genius. She graduated from high school at the age of 16, and she was graduated from University of Lincoln at the age of 16. She graduated from high school very early. They couldn't hold her. She was incredibly intelligent. So she would read medical books after medical books about what was happening to her. And so I felt like when she committed that, I just had it inside me. You know how you get a gift, people just get chosen. And that's when I started your show today, saying I was chosen. I don't know why. I couldn't give it up. It wouldn't leave me. So when people ask me how I write and everything and how I wrote the book, I said, this thing would not leave me. I laid down. I have friends that said, you've been saying this for 20 years. And they said, you never let it go. And I said, it just would not leave my heart, my mind, my soul. And I couldn't. Every time I turned around, I said, I've got to write this book. I've got to do this for the kids. And finally, I just got tired of saying it to myself. And I said, you know what? I guess I have been chosen. So here I go. It was just totally, it was inside of my body and just would never go.
So with your siblings, and the relationship, and you are right, because when it comes to family, each person having a relationship with each one is unique. And
Yes. So
then your experiences, of course, by virtue of age, might be different from someone else's, from your siblings' experience. How'd they feel about when you wrote the book? What was their take on it?
Well, what we do is, I don't know how most families are. We don't talk about it. I think I'm the oldest. I took care of them. One of the neatest things my sister said to me was, thank you for taking care of us. I had to help raise them when mom would get sick. And I was cooking pies and making lunch for hired men at the age of 6. So I was, when you're a Bohemian, grow up on a farm, you learn to cook early. So, but mom would get ill, so I would help my grandmother. And I was an old soul. Like when I was 15, I felt like I was 40. So I felt, I raised the children, helped raise them. We don't talk about it because they know I'm doing my job, and they're proud of it. I think their inner pain with it is somewhat different. As mom got older, schizophrenia doesn't stay the same. She didn't do the same thing to me that she did to the siblings. I took the brunt of it. And I don't know if that's because I was the oldest or not. I really don't know about that. But we keep it. I go out and do the work. And they know we do the work. And if they don't want to talk about it, I think it's absolutely beautiful because they don't want to relive it. And they're just, I do know they're proud of me. And I do know they go out there and do it. If they have other feelings inside, we just don't go there.
Do you, if I can ask, so over the years, were there some other ways in which it helped your family to cope with continuing on with newer chapters in life after your mom had passed? Were there ways, even if it wasn't something that you all talked about, were there things that were just helpful, maybe comforting on a nonverbal level that you just did out of tradition, or what were some things that helped?
Well, I think what really helped our family is we never quit having holidays together. They're kind of changing now because all our children are growing up, but are grown up, and we all have grandchildren. I think keeping the tradition. I know you're not there yet, but my father too has passed. He's been gone 10 years. So, while Dad was alive, Dad did find love again. And that kept the family getting together for Thanksgivings and Christmases and stuff like that. I think we kept the tradition of family values there. We had the beautiful gift of a beautiful stepmother. She too has passed. But we kept that old tradition going, even though Mom was gone. I will tell you though, right after Mom passed away, I can only speak for myself, and I can speak for my sister and my father at that time. There was a lot of pain because she was the love of his life. And, you watch someone that has the love of their life lose them. They basically go away, and they're trying to love something that they don't even know anymore. And there's a lot of complex feelings but I think the love of our family, but I want to say this to the families out there, that doesn't happen to all of them. A lot of them, that's why we have foster kids, homeless. I think I was one of the lucky ones, and I know that. That's another reason I'm on my platform, is because I know that a lot of them, like me, I could have went further. I could have went really sideways. I could have got on drugs. I think a lot of them do drugs. I think a lot of them get on alcohol and stay there. I think a lot of them don't even know why they're in this world. They're just going to a job and they're getting off at 5, and that's all they do is exist. I am speaking for them families that weren't as fortunate as mine and are not as fortunate as mine.
So I think it's really telling that there was, I used the word resilience earlier in the show, because that's the one thing that comes up for me when I think of your family, and just reading the book and seeing that you were still pressing forward, that there was that intentionality behind, making the effort to come together as a family. And it sounds like that was something that was transparent throughout the years. Would you say?
Oh, I would say that it followed through the years. All our family, it's a beautiful Czech family. Everybody stays together, just like most families. You have your Christmas, your dinners, your Easters, your everything. You get together. You just stop by and say hi. None of that. Basically, what we're saying is we were just one normal farm family, and it happened to us. We are just a normal farm ranch family, and boom, the mental illness struck our family. So we're no different than, it's just like everybody else. 1 out of every 4, 1 out of every 6, somebody's struggling. And just think that's in all these homes. And some of the homes you don't even realize that it's going on, or you're kind of aware that it's going on. So it's unfortunate if it does, but you know what? The main thing is, I tell youth right now, is you're not alone. That's the main thing we're trying to push out there, is you're not alone. And we're done being quiet. And
Yes.
we're just done being quiet. We're going to say it out loud. And if you need to talk to somebody, you reach out and talk to somebody.
I love that. I love that. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break. We'll be right back here on the Health Revolution.
Life is so fragile, and we're constantly reminded just how fragile life can be, especially when we or a loved one is told we have cancer. Cancer survivor myself, I can tell you, we still feel very alone in this journey.
There's a study that's been showing that patients who are socially isolated have a worse prognosis, have a worse outcome than patients who are socially interconnected.
Buddies for Life is a non-profit cancer support group for those whose life has been impacted by cancer. Humor, hope, heart, and hugs.
Humor, hope, heart, hugs, and a whole lot of love.
Share this with your friends and family and support this community in every way you can. No one should face cancer alone.
I am a chemo buddy for life.
We are a buddies network.
No one does cancer alone.
Be a buddy.
And we are all here for you as a community of love.
We are chemo buddies for life.
And if you've heard 3 words, you have cancer, for yourself or someone else, you belong with us at Chemo Buddies for Life.
Healing through connections.
We're back here on the Health Revolution. My guest is Karen Comba, the best-selling author of The Snipers We Couldn't See. We've been talking about how her story has a captivating story, has allowed her to move forward and use her voice to do good work when it comes to mental health in dealing with, she comes from the story of growing up with her mom having schizophrenia, and then her mom is passing away from suicide. And you do see here on the screen, we do have it if you or someone that you love is struggling with this. Here's the number to reach. Keep that in mind. Please do share, because if you see something, say something always and forever. And so now let's transition. So Karen, you've been using your voice. Let's talk a little bit about some of what you've started to do since coming to this moment of, okay, I've got work to do. What does that work look like?
Well, it's more thank you again for having me. It's more international speaking. I had the privilege of going to the Kenya tour with Top Talent Agency and speaking to 10,000 children in about 10 days. So what I found out is mental illness is everywhere. Mental health, mental awareness, whichever way you want to look at it, it's across the world. It's global. So my story doesn't end, it crosses the border, and I'm looking forward to doing more of that. But the biggest thing now, and then I have a TV show coming up, live stream. It's going to be the Karen Comba show, and that's coming. We're in the process of practicing now and getting ready for that. And my producer, David Fagan, is a part of that. So that's in it. The biggest thing that I'm giving back to this world is I'm working with a president for Arapahoe County here in state of Colorado, Jason Hopkins, of NAMI. And I tell everybody there's a NAMI, National Alliance of Mental Illness, in every state. If you need any help, you just Google NAMI and it will come up. But I'm working with Jason, and we put together quite a little team, and we know it will take time, but we're going to create solutions for youth, parents, and educators. And so we have a doctor and a professor in California working with us, and we're hoping to maybe started in the state of Colorado first. That's our home state. See, and I'm very proud of it. And I thought, why not? It should start in our home state. So people could be watching for that. They'll know about it when it hits. It's going to take us a little bit. But that's my biggest gift and my legacy, is to make a difference for these children and for parents and for educators. Get them some help out there and not just talk about it. And just continue doing my work. If I accomplish that, which is I will accomplish it, because that's who I am. You already know who that's. When I say I'm going to do it, it's already done. I was telling Jason, it's already done. We just got to do the footsteps. Then I'd like to go around and see all over the world the results of it.
So as you were speaking, so this is obviously an area that you have a lot of eyes and ears listening and leaning in. What kinds of conversations have you noticed where you have spoken? What comes up in that dialogue of things that concerns, or maybe things that goals to accomplish where you've spoken?
Okay, so some of the goals that we're going to be addressing is the suicide for teens. We're going to be addressing the bullying. We're going to be addressing when there's mental illness in their home. And this is, I don't know quite how we're going to get to the wording of it. That's why I'm being very careful because we haven't got all the programs set with the titles yet.
Yes. But
this is one thought out there. If we can reach a child, all the school shootings are done by teenagers. And if we can get to that child that's maybe 12 years old, and they're able to reach out and say, I'm feeling kind of weird, maybe can you talk to me about it? We'll never know how many school shootings we stop, but I'll bet you we stop more than we'll ever know in this world. So we're going to have programs addressing, even if the child feeling something inside, if the child has it at home, we're going to address vaping. We're going to address a lot of things that the children are going through right now. It just seems like they're a little bit lost. We're going to try to bring them home. But we're going to do, the biggest thing is the social media, taking them down, making them not feel good, making them so they don't want to thrive, making them feel bad about themselves. Well, we're going to try to flip the switch and see if we can't get them to feeling better about themselves.
What do you think the dialogue needs to be with, say, parents and teachers, and just like who all needs to jump in on the conversation? Or let me ask it in this way. What have you noticed that the dialogue has been between, like, say, families and the school environment, the school setting? What have you seen so far?
Well, the teachers are, overwhelmed with what they're doing. And, they've got a lot on their plate, and teachers are leaving the industry. And that is a huge problem, because they're not, social media, it's made them kind of hard to teach. And how far can they teach? I'm going out there on a limb. Why are we losing teachers? Why don't we make some solutions for them so that it isn't? And then we need more in there to help them. They need more teachers. They need more instructors. They can't carry it, on their backs themselves. And teachers really need some help. Then you've got the parents. They're going, what do I do? You're a parent. You didn't go anywhere to learn about the social bullying and all this stuff that's happening to your child. I feel so sorry for parents now. It's like, I don't know how you do it. And so we're going to try to find programs to help where they can go and read about, well, maybe this will work, to help my teen or my youth get through this. And then the youth, we'll do that through psychology and everything else, so that it's a safe place. We're also going to create a very safe place, but they need to be able to ask the questions, and they need to be able to say things out loud. And in all aspects, teachers, educators, and youth need to be able to say it out loud without feeling that they're going to be reprimanded for saying it.
And so I'll tell you, as you are such a driving force in this area, and I do want to make sure we have time to touch on this, but as what we mentioned earlier, that you're 65. And of course, I love and embrace all things of women redefining who they are as they get older. What would you say to viewers out there, the women who are in their older years and who are wanting to make a difference or wanting to make a shift? What helped you to grab life by the reins and take action the way that you have, based on the passion that you have to be an advocate today?
Well, I think watching other women, and I just knew this is the time. Women are showing up and doing it. And I thought, they can do it, I can do it, and why are we sitting here? It isn't over till you say it is. And comes age, comes wisdom. Well, let's make the wisdom happen to the young women a lot sooner. I mean, we're youth. I mean, we can change this dramatically. We don't have to wait till we're old to start telling young people how to live. I think that the world's a beautiful place, and there's good people. And everybody goes, oh, you turn on the news everywhere, everything's so down and everything. Well, maybe look at the other side. And I always tell people, look at the other side. You're here today, and there's probably a reason you're here today, and the world's a better place because you're in it. So why don't we do something about it? You have to change your mindset. I think women changed my mindset. I've watched a lot of older women that are still working. Everybody kind of jokes with me. They go, my God, at 65, people are starting to slow down, saying, oh, this is what retirement's going to look like. And I just kicked it in gear. I just thought, I'm not done yet. And I can't stand that word. For me, a lot of women can love that word. I don't love that word. And my mind doesn't love that word.
And it's funny because I think that we're in a really good space to start redefining our space. And I think that it's almost like moving pieces right now, that women have the opportunity to shine and take up causes and follow passions and just be that driving force. I think that this has been, if there's no time like the present, there have been more opportunities for women to use their voices. And I love how you've been able to demonstrate that you take charge and that you're doing what you're doing today.
Yeah. And men love it. Everybody says, it's not just a woman's world, it's a team. And I love watching young people, the wives and husbands, or the whatever sex they are or whatever, when they team up, they do it as a team. And the guardians together, they do it as a team. They're all working. They're in what I love is they're trying to change this for a better place. And I think that to touch base on mental health is, if we can change and help these kids stay healthy, and if they need to have direction, or if they need to have something explained, they'll thrive and they'll make this world a better place. And won't that feel good to know that we left this world in a better place with them behind us? Because they're the ones that are going to just absolutely explode. And women, oh my gosh, I think women are absolutely amazing.
100%. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break. We'll be right back on the Health Revolution.
Jeff Pearson here, host of Invisible Condition, where we talk about all the people who are living and thriving with all those conditions that you can't necessarily see from the outside. Join me every Tuesday and Friday at 10 a.m. Mountain Time on E360 TV.
We're back here on the Health Revolution. I'm your host, Adriana Morrison, and we've been spending time with Karen Comba, and we don't have a whole lot of time left, but let's go ahead and let's talk about so you've got your show coming up. Yeah. And if you could just reiterate a little blurb about that, and any upcoming events around the corner that you've got going on.
Okay, if they want to reach out to me personally, it's Karen Comba at outlook.com. I always put my email out there because a lot of people like to reach out and just have a chat. You can find me on my website, which is just www.karencomba. You can find me there. It is being updated, so this is kind of neat. I'm putting all the podcasts, all the TV shows on there. There's a beautiful resource page there for people that need help and want to seek help and where to find it. And then the TV show, the Karen Comba Show, you'll be watching that. You can go to my Facebook page. It's actually in the groups. The Karen Comba Show's on the group page. And then my personal is just my name. And Instagram is Karen Comba Writes. So you'll always be able to catch what's going on with me there and where I'm headed. I never know where the next question. I've got podcasts and TV shows coming a lot. I have one tomorrow and one next week with the fantastic Carrie Conley and Angel Chavez tomorrow. So that I just, but in the meantime, I'm working on the programs with our beautiful group with Jason, Ravi, and Susan, and we're making solutions for children. So hopefully that'd be the end game.
Yes, absolutely. And I just want to show our viewers one more time briefly. This is the Snipers We Couldn't See. This is available in anywhere you get books, on the big stores, and also in your indie section. You want to get your hands on this. For those of you who are tuning in, remember in our show notes, we have information on our amazing guest today, Karen. And so you'll find those. Don't forget to scroll down. And then if you, wherever you're tuning into, where you're streaming in, remember to hit that subscribe button. And Karen, it was so great to have you on the show today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You're just an absolute dear, and best of luck to your show. It's just fascinating. Everyone should keep watching and share this. It's just an incredible show. The Health Revolution, the place to be.
Oh, I appreciate that. That's all the time we have. Everyone tuning in. Remember, this episode is on demand replay as well. We hope you have an amazing rest of your day. I'm your host, Adriana Morrison. Until next time, take care.